Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. In today's silly little video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I pulled off this 42 colossal damage nuke in the Genshin Impact trading card game.
戦いは最もたやすいことだがな。暁よ、ここに暴きを受けよ。暁よ、ここに。
So I finally got around to actually playing the Genshin Impact trading card game for a little bit, and what better way to start off by immediately trying to do a huge nuke in this game mode. Now 42 damage is pretty paltry when it comes to damage in the actual game. In the trading card game, 42 damage is quite a bit when characters and enemies have like 10 or sometimes even as low as 3 to 30-ish hit points. So in today's video, I'm going to show you guys everything that it takes to do this nuke combo. Now, we're going to start off with just the bare minimum number of cards that you need in order to pull this off. As you can see, my focus when I started this game mode was purely just a nuke. The only two additional characters that I've invited and gotten their cards for are Bennett and Mona. And Fischl too? Did we get Fischl for free? I don't actually remember. Maybe I actually invited Fischl, but regardless of those details, Bennett and Mona, as well as your starting character, one of the starting characters, Diluc, are the key for this nuke. No surprise. This is almost like when you actually play regular Genshin Impact. Bennett and Mona are two of the best nuke supporters, you know, damage amplifiers in the game, and it's no different here in the trading card game. So for the buffs, these are the bare minimum 4 cards that you need in order to pull this buff off. But actually, you don't technically need Bennett's Burst card. However, it is highly recommended because otherwise there's a really good chance your Diluc is going to be under 7 hit points with this ridiculous setup. Now let's go into some of the supporting cards that really help a lot with pulling all of this stuff off. So first of all are some artifacts. I do recommend one Crimson Witch of Flames and perhaps even one Witch's Scorching Hat. Now you don't necessarily need both Crimson Witch of Flames because I find that the number of dice, 2 additional dice, is quite a lot in order to have 2 full sets of this thing. So for me, I found that this combination worked best for this nuke setup. Now other cards is you can have the Hydro one as well, but I personally found that I ended up not really needing this because of a lot of the other cards. We typically aren't going to be using Mona too much, except just to build her burst, whereas for the Pyro characters, you have to use them 5 times in order to get their bursts up. And we also have some other options to get their elemental bursts up. So this card is extremely crucial for the strategy, and this one allows you to draw 2 cards. I highly recommend having both of these on your in your deck because you need to go through a lot of cards for this. Now the next most recommended ones are for sure going to be this one right here. Again, you want to get through your cards fast and as fast as possible, so having as many of, the ability to draw a lot of cards is extremely important. Now one card that I ended up using that I found was extremely helpful was what is it called? Tubby. Yeah, Tubby, because Tubby allows you to summon these things for free basically once a turn, and these things are extraordinarily helpful, as well as some of the other location ones that we are going to want to use. Now we really want to stall. We're going to want to stall a lot in this game mode because in order to pull off this nuke, you have to build up all 3 of your characters' bursts, as well as to equip at least the Wolf's Gravestone, and then have enough things for the Adeptus Temptation, as well as for this Pyro Resonance. Oh yeah, I should actually rewind a little bit in terms of what cards we actually need. So the Wolf's Gravestone adds 1 damage to Diluc, and then another 2 damage if the target has less than 6 HP. So in total, if the criteria are met, this adds 3 damage to Diluc. Next we have Pyro Resonance, which when they trigger a pyro-related reaction, your active character gains 3 more damage. So in total, that is plus 6 damage to Diluc. Next we have the Adeptus Temptation, which adds another 3 damage. So in total, we have 9 damage from these 3 things alone. After that, we of course have Bennett's Elemental Burst, Bennett's Elemental Burst adds 2 damage if your character is over 7 HP, but if you use his special card, which we have over here, then the HP restriction is lifted and Diluc will get his damage buff regardless. And finally, we have Mona's Illusory Bubble, which removes this status and doubles the damage dealt for this instance. So you guys can see where the damage is starting to come from. And of course, we finally have Vaporize. Vaporize adds another 2 damage on elemental reaction, which we can see here. Vaporize plus 2 damage. So Diluc's Burst does a base damage of 8. So we have 8 plus 4, which is 12, plus 9 from the Wolf's Gravestone, this thing, and the Adeptus Temptation to get a base damage of 21, and then it is multiplied by 2 by the Illusory Bubble buff. Okay, so the next cards I recommend are actually the Wangshu Inn, because this will provide you with, each one will provide you with 4 healing, and they are free once you deploy a Tubby. So these are extremely dice effective once you have Tubby down, and you can keep healing your characters. Now next, you also, at least I personally brought 2 Favonius Cathedrals. I found that, I think 2 to 3 of these is enough, but, you're going to fill up your deck with random stuff anyway, so stuff that will keep you alive is extremely important because you need many, many turns to pull this off, to set everything up. Remember, you guys have 30 cards in your hand, and you need a very specific combination of cards to get it to work. So a couple ones that I personally found really helpful are these Paimons. I kind of held on to them until roughly 2 to 3 rounds prior to when I needed to pull off the nuke, and then I used them as quickly as I possibly could. Now, I also had one Dawn Winery, just because, over the course of the game, you end up saving a lot of dice because of this, which is very helpful. Now, I think I also had 2 of these as well. Adding 2 additional dice just at any point to do more of these actions is incredibly helpful. And after this, it's a bit more flexible. Oh yeah, so specifically on the enemy that we do this to the Oceanid boss fight. And the Oceanid boss fight has some very dangerous summons that can literally, well, almost one-shot you, or really, yeah, they can one-shot you if, you end your turn and it uses this burst. So in order to counteract the Oceanid, you really want this Hu Tao thing, as well as one of the Xiao ones I found to be enough. So what these do is that these destroy summons. The Hu Tao one destroys 1 summon at the cost of any 2 colored dice. And finally, the Xiao one destroys all summons at the cost of 4 of the same colored dice, so do keep that in mind. However, I found that the Xiao and the Hu Tao were critical for keeping me alive. And also, in order to maximize your burst damage. So next, let's talk about more ways to actually keep yourself alive. There are food items, and in particular, the Lotus Flower Crisp is one of the best ways to mitigate damage, especially when the Oceanid is about to use its Elemental Burst. You can reduce that damage by 3. So to put it in perspective, the Oceanid can do up to 8 damage, which is colossal amounts of damage. Now, the other foods, I personally didn't really find them very helpful, or I didn't even bring them, and I didn't need them clearly in order to pull off this combo. Now, some other cards, really, you've got a few more. I actually do recommend Iron Tongue Tian. Alternatively, you can also absolutely bring this card too. Either way, though, I recommend some of these guys in order to start building up your bursts. Now, the last 2 cards, I think I had 2 Paimons here as well, just to get some proper elemental energy when I actually needed it. And then the last one is a bit more flexible. I actually don't even remember what I ended up choosing for the last one. So yeah, you get, I think I chose this one, Diluc's special card, in order to have Diluc just output a lot of Searing Onslaughts to do enough damage to the Oceanid in order to put it into the 6 HP range, because this way you can output more, significantly more Searing Onslaughts thanks to this card. Just to be extremely clear in terms of, there's my Welcome Moon. Just to be extremely clear in terms of where the boss fight is, you talk to this cat, and then I think at level 2, you literally unlock the Oceanid boss fight. So I'm gonna just at least run through a couple initial turns just to give you guys an idea of what it takes to pull this nuke off. So the first thing you want to do is you want to re-roll for cards that allow you to draw more cards. And right off the bat, this didn't happen when I was trying to do it earlier, but right off the bat, we got both of these. Now, if we get 2 Kokomis, it's going to be crazy. But either way, this is a great start. I think having at least 2 of the cards that allow you to draw more cards is absolutely key for this. And I'm going to open up with Bennett just in case I need to use his burst more than once during this game. Having Bennett's burst up super fast before the other characters is absolutely huge, but you know, not absolutely necessary. Sometimes you can open up with Diluc instead. Now we got a lot of Pyro Dice, which is absolutely great for us for this setup. However, okay, so yeah, we can immediately deploy these draw 2 cards. Now, one quick tip: you can only keep 10 cards in your hand. I learned this the hard way. Any card that comes after the 10th card gets burned up and completely wasted. So don't be like me and accidentally do that and absolutely regret that. Now the Oceanid plays pretty passively overall, but I'm gonna deploy both of these just to get a very nice head start on all of that. And then we're gonna use Bennett's Elemental Skill. Again, we want to bring this thing's HP down to roughly I think the range is 6 to 8, where Bennett's Burst cannot actually kill this boss. If you have it at, I think actually around 7 to 8 HP, because again, you have to use Bennett's Burst, right, prior to ending your stuff. So anyway, okay, let's end our turn now. And the Oceanid, what it does is that it keeps summoning things, but most importantly, once its burst is full, which I don't think it will do this round, correct? It typically does it every 2 to 3 rounds, its elemental burst. Now we see here we're drawing 6 cards every turn now, which is pretty crazy, and I'm already out of space, so this is not a good idea to deploy both of these at once. But this run is not necessarily the run that I'm going to pull it off. I'm just giving you guys a few quick tips prior, you know, to just showing you guys the clip that I actually pulled it off with. So you have four Hydros, very nice. And it's going to do its elemental skill. That's fine. So these add-ons, just keep in mind that at the end of the turn, the bird as well as the chipmunk will do 3 damage total, or just 2 damage from the chipmunk, 1 damage from the bird, and the frog, it only does damage after you kill it. So yeah, those are important things to know about it. So okay, we have 6, we still have 9 cards, so let's start burning them, because otherwise we're going to be very sad if we don't burn these up. Let's go ahead and just end our run here. And the next turn, I'm going to show you guys how to deal with this thing's elemental burst. So this thing will never use its elemental burst at the beginning of a turn. I have never seen it do it. Maybe you're going to get unlucky and it does that, but it always starts with a basic attack or an elemental skill or whatever, summons one of the things. And oh no, did you see that? I lost those 2 cards. Oh wait, no, I needed to have 4 cards. Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. What was I saying earlier? Yeah, I didn't even burn enough cards. I was so distracted telling you guys all these tips, but hey, you guys can see exactly what I was talking about. Were those cards burned, the ones that I needed? I'm not even sure. If the Wolf's Gravestone or, you know, some of the others were actually burned, then we just got completely hosed by that. But anyway, okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to get 4 of the same element, which I have now. The next turn, this boss is going to do its elemental burst. When it does its burst, let's take a look here. It will do 2 damage plus 2 damage per summon. If it has 3 summons, it will do 8 entire damage. In order to counteract that, you can use this Shao card, which I typically use when there are 3 summons, but for this demonstration, I'm just going to use it even though there's only 2, because this run's dead anyway. I already burned my cards, and that really sucks. I didn't even pay attention to what cards were burned, but let's go ahead and just, you know, build up some burst here like this, and then I'm going to wrap up this turn by burning these and pulling out additional cards. So yeah, I didn't pay attention. If we burned either Pyro Resonance or the Wolf's Gravestone, the run's dead anyway, but yeah. So now we can see that the boss is going to do its burst, and once it has 3, it will have 3, and it will not use its burst until the next round. Now this is the next round, and it will always do a basic attack and then do its burst. Keep that in mind and delete the summons as needed. So we can see here that now the boss is going to do its burst, and I'm going to easily and successfully tank the boss's attack. So right here, it did its elemental burst. No big deal. Diluc's going to take 2 damage. That's nothing compared to the 8 damage that it would take. It's going to summon a couple things, and then it's going to slap you around with this thing, and yeah, blah, blah, blah. It's going to do 1 damage right here to your Diluc. So we can see here, that's just a quick tip for actually staying alive. And our Adeptus Temptation got burned up, so this run is completely hosed. But yeah. This is the turn right before the actual round. I managed to pull off the nuke, but what you want to do is you want to do Bennett's burst and Mona's burst during this turn. The turn right before the one that you want to do Diluc's nuke with. Now, I knew exactly how many hit points all the characters had, as well as how many hit points, how much damage they can survive. I'm pretty sure Mona is just going to be just fine swapping in here to do her elemental burst, because the Oceanid's either going to do its basic attack or not, or summon the thing, which only does 1 damage or 0 damage. So next, I'm using Stellaris Phantasm finally, and what's interesting about Stellaris Phantasm is that it does 0 damage to the Oceanid because the Oceanid is actually immune to Hydro. This is the turn that we actually want to do the nuke. So I had a couple Paimons providing me with energy for the previous round, and now I just have 1 Paimon, which is more than enough, providing me those energies. And you just need 3 or 4 Pyro energies depending on whether or not you have an artifact equipped, but you want to use the Adeptus Temptation. You can see here I use the summon to destroy the frog. Next, I use the Pyro Resonance elemental reaction buff card, and now Diluc is ready to pull off his burst. So now what's going on here, we can see it does 42 damage there, which is pretty epic. I'm just double checking my cards here to see if I have had everything equipped. We can see everything equipped on Diluc: the Wolf's Gravestone, the Flowing Flame, Pyro Resonance thing, the Adeptus Temptation, the Elemental Resonance Fervent Flames, and the Bennett's Inspiration Field, and finally the Illusory Bubble is actually tagged onto your character and not the enemy, which it took me forever to notice that. Actually, I just noticed it here when I was doing this nuke. And here we can see I'm just about ready to finally click this after so many turns of setup, and bam, 42 damage in Genshin Impact trading card game. I can't wait to see future nukes power creep this one, but this one was absolutely hilarious and fun to pull off, to see such small damage numbers again. It's very satisfying, and yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this, I guess, tutorial. Is it a tutorial? But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little video on how to do a big nuke in the Genshin Impact trading card game. Let me know what you think about this video down in the comments below, and if you would like to actually see more Genshin Impact trading card game content from me in the future, like for example, what's the most amount of damage you could probably do in a single turn, or maybe some character specific focused Genshin Impact trading card game videos where I really take one character and highlight what that character can do, or at least what I can come up with. So yeah, anyway, as always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Win to Lose, signing out.